Hey guys, today I'm going to give you an overview of my 1979 CJ7 called the Black Widow. Now, I bought this Jeep just to flip it. I got a really good deal on it, and I was just going to flip it and paint it and do a couple other things, and didn't quite work out that way. So I bought this probably about 5 years ago, and I brought it home and started disassembling it. Took the radiator off, took the front clip off, and the water had fallen down on the ground underneath it because the radiator hoses. I pulled the fuel lines off, put those back against the firewall, and took the mechanical fuel pump off. Well, one of the first things I was doing was cutting off the steering shaft because it wouldn't collapse, it was rusted. And doing that, I noticed as I was grinding that the sparks were going in the hole or towards the hole where the mechanical fuel pump was. And before I could let my finger off the trigger, it blew up on me. It literally blew up on me. I was standing in the water where fuel had dripped into the water, and the soles of my shoes had absorbed some of that fuel and water, so they caught on fire. One of the things that saved me, and that no matter what, I'm very safe about everything that I do as far as making sure I have a shield on. Luckily that day, I did everything right. I had a shield on, I had a shirt on that was made partially of Nomex, and Nomex is what firefighters used on their hoods and also race car drivers. So it was fire retardant. I had some sweatpants on, it was a little cool. Normally I don't have sweatpants on, normally I have shorts on, and my legs would have really got burned had I not had sweatpants on. So I dropped the grinder immediately, and this is the Jeep, and my engine and transmission were over here, and by the time I jumped over the engine and transmission, the flames had already made it over there. So I was like still in the flames once I was over here. And so when all this happens, and it happens very quick, there's a lot of stuff that goes through your mind. But one of them is, what the F do I do, right? So thinking back to my elementary days, what do they teach you in elementary school when you catch on fire? Stop, drop, and roll, right? So my shoes are still on fire. I dropped to the ground and I kicked my shoes off. And I will put a picture of my shoes and the little crispy nuggets that they are, and what would have been my crispy nugget feet had they still been in them. So luckily I kicked those off. I did get burned a little bit. My sweatpants caught on fire. I was able to get those out. And I had flames as tall as the top of my lift. Okay, this was back a little bit. The engine was directly under the lift, and the flames were that high. So I had a small little fire extinguisher. And let me tell you guys, if you guys have a shop, even if it's, and mostly I have a detached garage, but if you have a 1-car garage, 2-car garage, and it's attached to your house, get a huge dry chem extinguisher. Do it, because if anything catches on fire, and I've had this happen already in my 65 Pro Street Mustang, when I built the motor, right before I cranked it up, or when I was getting ready to crank it up after I built it and put this new motor in it, my stainless steel fuel line was laying across the top of my alternator. And the stainless part was touching, the metal part was touching the back of my alternator where the power was. And it instantly put a hole in my fuel line and burst into flames. Luckily, I have an on-off switch on the back, and I went and turned that off. That turned the fuel pump off, and I had a small fire extinguisher, which allowed me to get the fire out. Had I not had a fire extinguisher, had I not had that on-off switch, it probably would have burned my whole house down and everything in it. So if you're working on cars, you know, you can be as safe as you want, but sometimes just stuff happens. And get a fire extinguisher, keep it in your garage, just in case. So I grabbed that little fire extinguisher. Well, my phone was up here and it was hooked up to my Bluetooth speaker. So I grabbed the fire extinguisher, I hit the flames so I could get past the Jeep to grab my phone, and then I got out of the garage because smoke was billowing down, I was coughing. When I called 911, the phone was still attached to Bluetooth. So here, I could not hear the operator, and I couldn't figure out what's going on, and I'm sitting here just watching my Jeep burn down and thinking everything in this garage is gonna be lost. So finally it got disconnected. I was able to get a hold of the fire department. They show up and they pull a line, they get it out, and the Jeep is completely destroyed. And again, I've got some pictures of it after it was completely burnt. Somehow it made it to my other refrigerator that was up here, and it burned my refrigerator. All the rafters were black from soot. I had soot, these are 16-foot walls. I had soot lines halfway down the wall. That's how much smoke had piled up in here. All my PVC airlines were vapors because of the heat, how much heat had built up in here. So I had to replace all my airlines, and the only thing that was really left on the Jeep that I used is the frame and the axle housings. Everything else is brand new. So the Jeep blew up on me, I caught on fire. Luckily I didn't get too hurt, and I started the build. Now I'm pretty far along with the build. I didn't do a lot of video on the things that I was putting on this, so I'm gonna go over a lot of the stuff that is on this and the fabrication that I've done on this. Just keep in mind when you look at this, I am a DIY guy. I learn how to do things myself. I teach myself how to TIG weld, MIG weld. I've taught myself how to bend tubing. I buy a tube bender. And to me, it's just tuition. I buy the tools and learn how to do it myself because, like these headers, first headers I've ever built, they're okay, but I had to pay somebody about $1,200 because I had to redo a couple parts, about $1,200 to TIG them and weld them up. I don't want to pay somebody else to. I want to be able to do it myself. And in the future, I'm going to be building other headers. So I want to be able to do this stuff, build roll bars and things like that. All right, so my idea for this Jeep, something that I had in my head for a long time, and the reason why it's called the Black Widow is because it's a spider web themed Jeep. I got this idea a long time ago from watching Orange County Choppers. One of my favorite bikes that they built was the Black Widow bike. I think it's a Black Widow bike, spider bike, whatever. So with CJ7 frame grills, they're all the same. They're just a stamped piece of metal. You can't buy anything to change the design of the frame, the design of the grill. It is what it is. And it's one of the staples of being able to look at a Jeep instantly and know that it's a CJ7. However, I wanted to be a little different, so I decided, you know what? I want to make kind of a spider web out of the grill. And this is what it turned out to look like. All right, so I cut this out, I got some flat stock and I bent it around and tacked it in place. And then I got the round stock and started bending it. I have two different size round stocks and bent it and tacked it all in place and finally welded it. So I think it came out pretty decent. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you like it, don't like it. But it's different. And I'm actually thinking about making these and possibly selling them on eBay. If, you know, for somebody that wants something a little different for their CJ, let me know if it's something that, you know, you might be interested in or think people would buy. So I'll get into the engine probably last because that's like the jewelry point of this. But again, the frame is the stock frame. It's got a spring over lift. I did the spring over with a 4-inch leaf spring. So that puts it at about 9 inches. This is a new body. It's got metal cloak front and rear fenders. I didn't want to put the front fenders on. What I did is I actually sectioned my stock OEM fenders because they're kind of wide and I didn't like how wide they were. So I took 2 1/4 inches out and then I tried to bend my own tubing, but there was a space in between the fender and the tubing, and it just didn't match the rear. These metal cloak fenders, front fenders, are expensive. I didn't want to spend the money, but I had to make the Jeep look symmetrical and complete. All right, so one of the first things I worked on was the center console and dash. I'll show you my dash in a minute. But the center console, this took me a long time because it's the first one I've ever done. But I've got an on-off switch here. That way if it for some reason flips over, I have access to turn the fuel pump and all the power off. I have this is not all in, but this is a marine switch panel. That way if it rains, gets wet, it will be sealed. My radio. I made these. This is like, I think 3/4 of an inch plexiglass, and I cut these out, and there'll be LEDs inside on the back of this, and this will light up red. So this will be black, this will be red, and this will light up red. Same thing with this. This will light up red. And I've got my shifter. It's got a Ford 347 small block stroker motor, Dana 20 transfer case, and a C6 trans, and this is going to be my 4-wheel drive shifter. I've got cup holders with LED lights in them. One of the other things I wanted to do, because I hated the stock pedals, they just come down, they're bulky, there's nothing to them, so I kind of made a spider web in the pedal. It still has to be TIG welded up, but that's something different that I want to make. It's got a low car pedal. I have to cut this out and raise it up because it's a little off of where it needs to go. I have an I Did It steering column. The steering column fits in with the stock bracketry, but this piece also I had to buy. It's part of the I Did It column, which is right here. Now, this is my dash over here, and because, as you can see on my center console, I don't have the gauges anymore that go on the dash that would normally go right here. So this is a hole for the wires, but what I decided to do was buy a race pack, something that I've never seen a CJ have other than maybe a rock crawler or Ultra 4 car. And they call them CJs, but they're not CJs. Let's be realistic. They might have a grill on them that's a CJ, but everything else is custom. I'm sorry if it's loud, but it is storming outside. Hopefully it's not too loud. So I bought this on eBay. This is a holder, and it has 2 pods for gauges, which I thought would be perfect for my turbo gauges. And this is going to sit here on this. I made this, and again, kind of spider web theme. And I've got a fuel gauge going here, my wiper, and lights. And that's pretty much it for that. Now, I like the stock CJ steering wheels. I actually love them. I think they're really cool. The one thing though is you cannot buy these caps anymore. You cannot buy the ones that say Jeep or have the J on them. They're just plain and they look like crap. But when I was looking at steering wheels, I didn't want to go with a real small steering wheel. So I ended up going with something that I didn't think I would go with. This is obviously a show Jeep. So something that I found that's going to go really well with the race pack is a Sparco steering wheel. And so it's cut out in the middle because when you have the race pack, it fits nicely and gives you good visual on the race pack. So I went ahead and bought that, and I think it's going to go together nice. One of the other things that I've done to make this Jeep especially unique is the roll cage. I've never seen anybody do a roll cage with like a design, an extra design. I mean, my roll cage is made for safety in case it rolls, but I also did a design in the back to give it a little extra pop and to carry on with the theme. So this is the roll cage. There is a lot of work, as you can see, hours and hours and hours of bending on my bender and different size tubes, welding it, and I even smoothed out and grinded all the welds to make it even that much nicer. So leave me in the comments below what you think about the roll bar. I think it's going to set the Jeep off and make it very unique. That is my 83 CJ7 that I've had in my family since 1989. My dad bought it. We had it on a hunting up north as a hunting Jeep, but it's been sitting for a long time, probably 4 or 5 years. Haven't done anything to it. I extended the frame on it, and I just had a guy finish making this cradle for me for my 4-link. And CJ7, also very unique, and I'm working on this slowly. So back to the Black Widow Jeep. One of the things I did was I changed it over to EFI. I used to have this motor with a 671 blower on it. So this is the Ford 347 twin 76 millimeter turbos. I had to shorten the intercooler to get it to fit into here. One of the things concerned is, well, you want to make sure you have enough intercooler for the horsepower that you're running. This isn't a race Jeep. It's, again, more for show, cruising shows. So I'm only going to be pushing maybe 600 horsepower, 650 at the motor. And that's kind of limiting this block. So maybe 500 rear wheel horsepower. So this intercooler is fine. My wastegates, blow off valve, and everything's been done nicely. I had Profab company nearby do my tubing and my exhaust. And I took a long time trying to design this and exactly how I was going to run the cold and hot side and get these turbos to work. But finally got it done and converted it over to fuel injection, and I've just now finished the fuel lines, fuel pump, and what I have, I'll show you back here, is, let's see if there's enough light. Let me get a light so that you can hopefully see this. All right, so let's see. All right, so I got the fuel pump, the inline, pre-filter, post-filter, and I built this to just pull up here. So anything happens, I can unscrew it, pull it down, service this if I need to. But this is something I built and ran the lines up front, and now I'm finishing up the fuel system. This is a Dana AMC-20 rear end with solid axles, 488 gears front and back, and of course the custom diff cover. And one of the other things I've done for the spiderweb theme is a skid plate. It's also a spiderweb. Okay. So one of the things I don't want to do is overdo it and do too much to where it looks gaudy. The only other thing, I've got the grill, the skid plate, the roll bar, the race pack, and the pedal that are done in a spiderweb. The only other thing that I might do is right here, I may make a spiderweb in here to kind of close this in. Let me know again what you guys think in the comments, if you think that's a good idea, if you think it's going to be too much, that's a little too close on my face. Let me know what you think. And so I've almost done with everything. I've got my headlights, my parking lights. I've got black rings. This is going to be red and black, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what all is going to be red and black. I'm writing everything down, so when I take it apart, I'll be able to figure out what I'm going to do as far as how I'm going to, if I'm going to do the fenders, keep everything red on the body and the fenders, or if I'm going to do the fenders black, the body red, and so on. I've got my battery box, my fuel cell. This is an aftermarket body, and it doesn't come with the holes, so you have to drill the holes. One of the other things it didn't come with is these tabs for the tailgate to screw into, so I had to make those tabs. So for the fuel injection, I'm running Holley Terminator X. It's a pretty easy and simple hookup. I'm going to have Profab do the final tuning on it, and I'm also got a painless performance harness that has to go in. This is the Pro Street chassis harness. It's not the actual CJ7 harness because I don't have the stock motor and the stock stuff. Mallory ignition. A couple other things I have is a really cool review mirror that's for a UTV that I'm going to use in this. And then, oh shit, all my stuff's getting wet up here. I need to, including my powder coater. Hold on one second. That's not good. It's a good way to get electrocuted. Sorry about that. This is a new addition. I just got this OptiFlex 2 powder coat machine. I do have a powder coat oven that I built, and I'm going to be doing a tutorial on that. And because I have a lot of parts to powder coat on this Jeep, so I wanted to buy this Opti 2. I got it used. It is basically the top of the line powder coat machine. I've been using a Redline gun, which is a $700 gun, but it's really pretty shitty. It doesn't work well. I've got to close these other doors because I've got my other stuff here getting wet. So apologize again for all the noise. And I'm also got my Chevy 2500 Duramax. This is a 1250 horsepower Duramax with 2,300 foot-pounds of torque at the motor, so about 1,000 rear wheel horsepower. And I will also do a tutorial on that one. All right, so my camera got too hot and shut off. But that's pretty much it on the Jeep for now. I'll do more videos as I take this apart and put it back together and get things painted, and when I do the Terminator X wiring and things like that. And I'll keep you guys along the ride as I get this together, because there's a lot of shows I want to go to. I'll definitely have it together before Jeep Beach at Daytona. I wanted to have it ready for August 23rd or 5th. For Jeep Invasion Tennessee, but unfortunately it's not going to be done. So please stay tuned. Please like, subscribe, hit the button so when I do update videos, you will see them, and follow along for the ride, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.